Hey everyone, hope you guys do good. So let's get into question 3 on chapter 2 for cost behavior analysis. Okay, so guys, we're at our last long answer question here. Obviously not last question overall because you have your multiple choice to go through after this, okay? Guys, the COMM 35 is never ending. It's just trauma nonstop. Just get with the flow, get with the vibe. It makes it a lot easier that way, okay? Now, guys, for our last long answer question here, okay, have your theory notes next to you because we're now going to go over the high-low method, okay? Literally everything about the high-low method, okay? Now, in this problem, guys, okay, because as you guys know, your midterm is going to be multiple choice, okay? All right. In this question here, guys, we're basically covering every type of multiple choice question that you could possibly be asked for the high-low method, okay? So guys, you have to know basically how to do each of these required because this is going to be a different type of multiple choice question, okay? So unlike the theory video, guys, we're putting much more of a problem solving focus here today. That's why I always say, like, you know, guys, the problem videos are much more important because that's where you learn how to solve, right? So we're going to go through the steps and basically take everything from the theory video, but now apply the application on it, okay? So guys, let's read through this question on the high-low method and get after it, okay? So first off, Ballard Corp has accumulated the following data concerning mixed costs. The company's determined the relevant range is based on units produced. Okay, so first off, guys, and I know it sounds like a dumb question, but it is a very valid one. How can you tell that you're doing the high-low method, okay? How do you know? Well, guys, the fact that they give you a relevant range is the first indicator, because remember what the high-low method is. It allows you to find what the variable cost per unit is, right? The VC per unit within the relevant range. That's what the high-low method does, okay? So forgive my bad handwriting here. High-low method, HLM, allows us to find the VC per unit, and then guys, I'm going to abbreviate here, within RR. What RR stands for, guys, is relevant range, okay? That's what the high-low method does, guys. Find the variable cost per unit within a certain range of activity, okay? Now, because they tell you relevant range, that's your first indicator. But guys, let's just say they didn't even say relevant range here, okay? Well, the fact that they give you a bunch of different months with activity and cost, okay, that's your indicator. That's the high-low method. So even if they didn't tell you relevant range, if they ever give you like an activity and a cost right beside it with a bunch of different like points, right? Because guys, like the high-low method, they basically give you like a data set, right? They basically give you like what happened each month of the year, or, you know, each month of the year. They could give you year by year, whatever it is. Point it, like what I'm trying to say here, guys, is that like you could tell it's the high-low method when they give you the activity and cost for a bunch of different time periods. Okay? That's how you could tell you have the high-low method, right? Whenever you have something like this, you see here activity and then a cost next to it, you basically know it's a high-low method question. And then guys, if you really don't believe me, it's a high-low method. You really don't believe me that's a high-low method question, look at required A. It literally says solve this using the high-low method. So when in doubt, guys, I always like to say, when in doubt, just read the question and it'll pretty much tell you what they want to know, and then you'll know what chapter you're in, okay? So guys, I hope that makes sense. And if it doesn't make sense, you can message me literally anytime. I'm literally here for you A to Z, guys, okay? So guys, high-low method, okay? How can I tell a high-low method? Like I said, if I have a bunch of different months or a bunch of different years, and I have an obvious activity and a cost column, okay? Now, another question I get, guys, and it's a very good one. Matthew, how could I tell what's the activity versus what's the cost? Well, guys, think about it like this. An activity is anything you do that leads you to spending money, right? I go to Lululemon, I come out with $1,000 on my credit card. The activity was maybe hours spent at Lululemon, and then here's my cost. And thank God, guys, I have not spent $1,000 on Lululemon, okay? I can't say the same for my fiance, okay? So you go in, basically, no, I'm not going to talk about shopping at Lululemon here as much as we'd like to distract ourselves. Guys, an activity is basically anything that you do that leads to spending money. Something you do that you regret later. Kidding. Something, or not kidding. Something that you do that leads you to spend. Okay, that's what the activity is, guys. So in the high-low method, whenever you have a doubt what the activity is, just think about it logically, right? What am I doing that's leading to the cost? Okay? So, guys, now why does it matter the activity versus the cost in the high-low method? Well, that just comes down to the high-low method equation, right? So for the high-low method, guys, before we even get into the steps, okay, let's refresh what the equation is, okay? What's the equation? Well, your high-low method, your HLM, okay, allows you to find the VC per unit. And how do you solve for that variable cost per unit? Well, guys, for the high-low method, remember, like I said in the theory video, you always start in the denominator. You pick the highest activity, okay? And then, guys, what you need to do is you need to pick the cost that matches the highest activity, okay? So I know in the video, I just wrote highest cost, But guys, the only reason why I wrote that is for like simplification, right? But the reality is, guys, okay, when we're talking about the highest activity, okay, we need the cost that matches that activity, right? Because guys, think about it. Activities and cost has to match. You can't just pick like one activity here that matches another cost, right? We have to look at the activity that led to that spending in the same time period, right? Everything has to relate, right? I can't be like, well, I spent 1,000 hours in Lululemon. I don't know why I'm talking about Lululemon today, guys. I really don't know why I'm spending 1,000 hours. Actually, I do know why. Like this past weekend, I had to go buy stuff for golf because it's finally nice in Montreal, which is so fucking rare, guys. Like if it's sunny outside, like you literally need to like have like a block party, okay? And then like not maybe like run into a pothole. But distractions aside, like if I go and I spend like 1,000 hours Lululemon this month, which I didn't, just to let you guys know, you don't need to get mad at me about my spending habits, okay? Like I spent 1,000 hours Lululemon in April. I can't be like, well, that 1,000 hours Lululemon in April, that explains the cost in January. Like that doesn't make sense. You have to pick everything in the same time period, right? Everything has to relate. Okay. So that's why, guys, we take the highest activity and then we pick the highest activity cost. Okay, let's spell that right. Highest activity cost. Okay. So always pick the cost that matches the activity. So guys, you start in the denominator and then you pick the numerator that matches. Then guys, we minus the lowest activity. And then here, guys, same thing as before. You're going to minus the lowest activity cost. Okay. And that's how you solve for the VC per unit with the high-low method, right? That's the equation that we went over in the theory video. Okay. Now, one thing that we didn't go over in the theory video is how to actually figure out the fixed cost with the high-low method. Okay. How do I actually figure out the fixed cost? Okay. And for that, I'm going to give you an equation. Okay. And basically, we're going to go over the steps in a little bit. Okay. But now, for the variable cost per unit, guys, you're going to solve it with the high-low method equation. And how do you figure out the total fixed cost? Well, guys, the total fixed cost using the high-low method, all you're going to do, okay, is solve with algebra. Don't worry, it'll make sense in a bit. Algebra with total cost equation, with TC equation. So, guys, we use the total cost equation in the second question, right? So in question number 2, okay, in Q2, we basically solved for something with the total cost equation, right? You learned what the total cost equation is, okay? Now, what is your total cost equation? Your total cost, guys, if anything, is the variable cost per unit times the number of units, okay, plus the total fixed cost, okay? That's your total cost equation. Now, what you guys are going to see in a little bit later in the question is that through the high-low method, we're actually going to have the VC per unit already, okay? And you guys will see all the steps in a little bit. And then I'm going to show you guys as well how we'll get the total number of units and the total cost, okay? So basically, guys, what you're going to see here is we're going to solve this with algebra, okay? We're going to take the total cost and the number of units, okay, from the high-low method equation here. So literally, guys, because like this is what you're going to realize, okay? And I think I explained the previous question, but I'm going to say it right now. Basically, the total cost equation is all your variable cost plus all your fixed cost, right? So basically, okay, when we do the high-low method, right, and we have our highest activity cost and highest activity, let's just say, guys, we had 100 units here and the total cost was 100,000, okay? Well, if your variable cost per unit is, let's just say, $50, okay? Well, guys, okay, you solve for the $50 from up here, okay? Let's just say the 100 units was in the question. You have 100 and then 100,000, okay? You're going to pick your activity and your cost. You're literally just going to plug it into the equation. You have your VC per unit from, like I said, the first step. And guys, I'm making up numbers here. You're going to see it makes a lot more sense when you actually do the problem. You basically have everything you need, and all you're missing is the total fixed cost. So you just have to solve it with algebra. That's all it is. Because, guys, you're going to have the information for the total cost and the number of units from step 1. Or sorry, it'll be like step 2 later. You'll see. Just write step 2 for now. We're going to go over all the steps in a little bit. You'll have those numbers from step 2. Okay. Actually, you'll have all 3 of these numbers from step 2. I'm going to show you the mechanics. And then you solve for this with algebra. You're going to see, guys, high-low method questions, it's very straightforward on the exam. It's very straightforward. It's basically a lock-in, okay? So these are the 2 things that we need to solve for with the high-low method, okay? And then, guys, we did it in the previous question. You'll see how to find the cost at different levels of activity towards the end of the question. But it's kind of similar to what we did in question 2. Okay, we're just going to use our total cost equation. That's it. Okay, now, guys, in getting after this, okay, let's now get into this question here with all the steps. Now, for the high-low method questions, guys, it's always the same steps, okay? Your step 1, okay, it's going to sound kind of dumb, but it's literally the first thing you should do, okay? You need to point out what is the relevant range. What is the relevant range? Because, guys, that's the only hard part in the high-low method, right? You literally just have to figure out, well, what points in this data set do I use, okay? Well, looking at this here, okay, what is basically my highest activity? So when I say the relevant range, guys, we look at the difference between the highest activity, the HA. So HA, guys, stands for highest activity. And then we got LA, that stands for lowest activity. Okay, so HA, and then we got LA over here. Okay, so that's what the relevant range is. Now, highest activity, guys, like I said, just look in the question here and pick the biggest number. Okay, so we look through here, guys, we have 10,000, 9,000, 10,500, 8,800, 9,500. Guys, and this is where on your exam you even have a highlighter. March has the highest activity and then the cost that matches. So your highest activity, guys, in step 1 is 10,500. And then the lowest activity, everyone, is going to be in April, 8,800. So that, guys, is your relevant range. Okay? Now, why is it important that you identify the relevant range? It's because, guys, once you know your highest and lowest activity, right, and then the cost that matches as well, you can then go run your equation nice and easy, okay, which leads us to step 2. So step 1, identify the relevant range in the question, okay, because that basically gives you the answer to the high-low method equation, okay? Now, step 2 is solve for the high-low method. So HLM high-low method for the VC per unit, okay? So our VC per unit is going to be, and guys, we're going to abbreviate a lot on the exam, especially for the midterm, just because, guys, it's multiple choice, right? Like, no one's actually grading your work for multiple choice questions, right? They take your Scantron booklet, they shove it in the machine, and your actual work, it goes in some drawer, God knows, gets lost somewhere, recycled, maybe, who knows what the hell Concordia will do with it, okay? Maybe sell it on eBay, you'll find your exam, God knows. Okay, but anyways, guys, we're going to abbreviate here, HA, highest activity, minus LA, lowest activity. Then we pick the highest activity cost, HAC, and then we minus the lowest activity cost, LAC. Okay? So for our VC per unit now, and look how easy it is once we do step 1, guys. Okay? Look how simple it is. I'm going to pick 10,500 first because that's what I pointed out in step 1. And then, guys, my total cost is 23,375. Okay? 23,375. Okay, I hope that is okay with everyone. Then, let's now go to the lowest activity, which is 8,800. Okay, and then we pick the cost that matches. So 8,800 units produced, okay, we have 20,400 in cost. So overall, guys, our VC per unit, and let me go check my solution here, and let's say the right number off the screen. So you go here. Basically, your numerator, guys, if you just want to do it, let me just go the extra step just to show you guys every number. Your numerator is going to be 2,975, and your denominator is going to be 1,700. So overall, guys, your VC per unit is going to be 1.75, and that's the answer to required 1, or A. Okay? That's your variable cost per unit, and that is step 2. Okay? Now, guys, step 3, okay, so right here, solve TFC with total cost equation, or say with algebra, okay? Now, what you're doing here, guys, basically, when I say solve for TFC with algebra, okay, what you guys are going to realize, in step 2, we have the VC per unit. That's one part of the total cost equation, okay? Also in step 2, okay, we have the highest activity and the highest activity cost, HAC, okay? So basically what we see here, guys, what I told you, is that we have 3 elements of the total cost equation, right? Because our total cost equation, okay, is our VC per unit times the number of units plus the total fixed cost. So all we have to do, guys, okay, is take the 3 elements from step 2 and then solve for the fixed cost with algebra, right? Because guys, this is basically what we know here. And this is good because, before I was making up numbers like up here, but now we have some actual numbers. We know our variable cost per unit within the relevant range is 1.75. So for every single unit I produce, guys, it's 1.75, okay? Now, guys, you always pick the highest activity cost, okay? Or technically, guys, I don't want to waste your time too much in this video, but when you solve for the fixed cost, you basically have to use one of these numbers that you used for the high-low method, the variable cost per unit equation, okay? Because basically what you're doing with the high-low method, just to explain to you on a very high level, okay? Sorry if I'm going on tangents now. This happens sometimes. And sorry for showing you this graph. I know maybe it'll give you some PTSD from economics classes, right? But basically this is what you guys need to know, okay? When you solve for the variable cost per unit with the high-low method, okay, this is actually the equation of a slope function that you learned in your math and econ classes. What we're basically doing here, guys, is y2 minus y1 over x2 minus x1, okay? Now, the variable cost per unit, guys, is basically the slope of the cost function because, guys, what is the variable cost, right? It basically goes up based on the amount you make, right? Or goes down, okay? It's a linear function. It goes up or down. So basically with the high-low method, right, we're finding one end of the extreme and another end of the extreme, and then our VC per unit is our slope, okay? Because it's going to go up or down based on the amount you make, right? Now, what we do here, guys, okay, for the variable cost, right, it's like I said, we look for our slope, right, because it's going up or down with a linear amount. But since you guys built your variable cost based on these two extremes, okay, you basically built your variable cost off let's just say 1 unit, or we could go on this question here. Let's say this is 8,800 and this is 10,500, right? So since we basically are building our cost function off 2 points in the data set, okay, we have to use either of these points when it comes to figuring out our fixed cost, okay? And it'll get you the same number. So I always like to say, use the highest activity, which, guys, is going to be 10,500 units. And then, guys, your total cost is going to be 23,375, okay? And then you solve for your total fixed cost with algebra. So basically, guys, for our high-low method, guys, we figured out the variable cost per unit within a certain range, okay? So when we want to find the fixed cost, we have to use either of those data points that we used in the first place, all right? Because we can't start mix and matching different things, guys. Like the high-low method, we use 2 points to figure out the variable cost per unit. So you must use those same 2 points for the fixed cost, okay? So whatever you use to find the VC per unit, you use to find the fixed cost as well, okay? And guys, for all intents and purposes, that's why I always say just memorize it. Just pick the highest activity and the highest activity cost, okay? So basically, guys, here we know our total cost, 23,375. I'm going to erase all this crap. If you want to go back and watch it, by all means. But guys, this is just extra theory for no reason. Okay. Anyways, for 23,375, this is your total cost. Okay. Now, guys, remember, whatever's not variable is fixed. That's basically what we're doing here in the high-low method, right? So if we know our variable cost per unit is 1.75 and I have 10,500 units, okay, my total variable cost, guys, is going to be, and let me just go solve this here on my Excel right next to me. It's going to be 10,500 times 1.75. That is going to be 18,375. Okay, that's basically my total variable cost, right? And guys, this is what I mean by solve for the fixed cost with algebra, right? Because whatever is not variable is going to be fixed. Okay, so guys, solve for X here, or let's just write here total fixed cost. So your TFC is going to be $5,000. And that is your answer to required B. And it's always the same thing, guys. Okay, it's literally always the same thing. Okay, that's it. That's all. So just to go recap our steps. Step 1, find the relevant range because you need that for your variable cost per unit equation. Okay, then we do the variable cost per unit with the high-low method. And we have a VC per unit of 1.75. Then when it comes time to step 3 for solving the fixed cost, all we have to do is pick all the data points that we solved our VC per unit with, right? So we have the highest activity we have the highest activity cost up here and the highest activity. And then we have our VC per unit. So we basically have 3 of the things we need, right? We have the number of units, we have the cost, and we have the VC per unit. So we have everything that we need to figure out the fixed cost with basic algebra, okay? And guys, this is just like a for you activity for you. Okay. Okay. Solve for the fixed cost with the lowest activity. Okay. And you should get the same number. So do the total cost equation, 20,400. Okay. Because that's the lowest, that's the cost at the lowest level of activity. Okay. Your VC per unit is 1.75. You have 8,800 here. So what is your total fixed cost? Okay. And guys, I can actually do this for you right now just to prove to you it's the same. I'm going to do 8,800 times 1.75. That gives me 15,400. So 20,400 equals 15,400 plus TFC. And look at that, guys. Your total fixed cost is also 5,000. So guys, you could pick either the highest or even the lowest, whatever your preference is. Okay, I always say, guys, though, just pick the highest. Total fixed cost with algebra. That's it. That's all. Okay, and guys, even though I'm using steps here, realistically, on your exam, okay, when it comes to at least the midterm, you'll either be doing steps 1 or 2, or steps 1, 2, and 3, right? You basically, when I say these steps, guys, you just basically have to see what step to stop at, right? Because sometimes in the question, it'll just ask you for the VC per unit, that's it, right? Sometimes in the question, it'll ask you for the total fixed cost. So then you just got to go an extra step, right? You got to go to step 3, right? Because this is step 3. And then, guys, step 4 is basically to estimate the total cost at different things within the range. Because, guys, once you have your VC per unit and your total fixed cost, you could then estimate anything within the relevant range. Okay? Sorry, oops, I wrote 5,000 here is the total fixed cost. And the VC per unit is 1.75. So once you have these two, guys, you could basically run your total cost equation. I'll just write it one more time. Guys, it's very important that you know this total cost equation, okay? Oh my God, VC per unit times number of units. Almost made a stupid mistake there. Plus total fixed cost. Okay? So guys, remember, like I said in the previous video, once you have the variable cost per unit of 1.75 and the total fixed cost of 5,000, right? All you have to do is plug in the number of units that they ask in the question, and then you can estimate the cost, right? So this is always given in the question, because basically, guys, when you do the high-low method, and you build your total cost equation, why companies would do that is for like cost estimation purposes, right? Because they want to know the cost at different levels of activity, okay? So basically, once you have your total cost equation, the business will tell you, well, what's my cost at this number of units? And what's my cost at that number of units, okay? And now, the only thing you need to worry about in the high-low method, and we'll write it like this now for step 4, estimate cost, estimate total cost, okay, at different levels of activity, which is given to you in the question. Because Dr. Ali, or whoever the coordinator is, if I use this recording in the future, okay, Dr. Ali, whoever the coordinator is, will basically ask that of you, right? He'll be like, he'll say, based on the data above, right, based on everything that we've done above, find me the cost at like X number of units. So estimate total cost at different units. Or let's just say different levels of activity. Okay, now in this question here, guys, when we say different levels of activity, they ask you 9,250 in required C and 8,500 in required D. Okay, now at this point here, guys, okay, when they ask you for the cost at different levels of activity, what is the one thing you need to be careful for in terms of the activity when we're talking about the high-low method? Okay, right? What's the one thing that we're talking about? Okay, guys, and think about this, okay? Think about this logically, okay? Think about logically based on what we talked about in the theory video. What do you need to worry about when it comes to the high-low method when you're finding the cost of different levels of activity? Okay, I'm about to spoil it for you, okay? I hope you said it, right? Or even if you went to your notes. And if you get it wrong, guys, I don't care. Make mistakes now, not in the exam. So, guys, what do you need to look out for? Well, is the cost that they're asking you within the relevant range? Within RR. Okay, guys? And that's why we identify it in step 1. Our relevant range, guys, and let's bring it back over here. Our relevant range is between 10,500 and 8,800. So, guys, if it's within the range, we can estimate. But if it's not, then you actually can't even answer the question. Okay? You can't even answer. Okay? So, guys, at this point here, okay, build the total cost equation and see if you know how to basically solve for it with 9,250 units. Okay. Now, first thing, guys, 9,250, it's within the range. We're good. So let's go do the total cost equation. So our total cost equation here, guys, is our VC per unit times number of units plus the total fixed cost. Okay. So our total cost here, guys, is going to be 1.75. That's the variable cost per unit. And remember, guys, that's from step 2. Okay. Times the number of units, which is given to you. Remember, guys, the business is going to tell you what their activity is. So the activity is 9,250 units. And then, guys, don't forget your fixed cost in step 3, which is 5,000, right? The fixed cost never changes, guys. Right? That's why, by the way, in the total cost equation, we solve for the VC per unit and the total fixed cost. Remember what I said in the theory? Your variable cost per unit does not change. Your total fixed cost does not change. Okay, remember the examples I went over in the theory, guys. It's very important, okay? Your variable cost per unit never changes, right? Like as you're working your day job, your hourly wage isn't changing every hour you work. Your variable cost per unit is the same. And then, guys, remember the example of fixed cost, right? So whether you're one person in the apartment, 2 people, you have a clown car, and 500 people are in the apartment, you still got to pay your landlord $5,000 a month. Okay, like the fixed cost, it's the total amount does not change. No matter how much you want to use out of it, it still stays the same. Okay, so that's why, guys, we solve for the VC per unit total fixed cost, because it doesn't matter what they put as the activity here. As long as it's in the relevant range, it works. So, guys, your total cost is your variable cost. So 1.75 times 9,250. That gives you a total variable cost of, I'll write here, this basically is TVC. Okay, so TVC is going to be 16,187.5 plus the fixed cost of 5,000. So your total cost at 9,250 units is going to be 21,187.50. Okay? I hope that's good with everyone. Okay? Regardless, I'm recording by myself, so it's no choice. Okay? So yeah, that's it. That's all, guys. Okay? I hope everyone is good with this. Okay? That is the cost at 9,250 units. So the answer required C is 21,187.5. Okay? Now, next up, guys, for required D, last but not least, what is the cost of 8,500? So, guys, a lot of you are going to be all gung-ho and be like, oh, let me repeat this process. Let me do the total cost equation, but let's plug in 8,500. Guys, remember, when it comes to the high-low method, you cannot solve for the cost if it's not within the range. Now, guys, is 8,500 within this relevant range? Is 8,500 a number that falls between 10,005 and 8,008? The answer is, guys, God, no. It falls without the range, so outside of range. So, guys, if it's outside of the range, what's the answer required D? Nothing to calculate. Out of range, okay, can't be solved. Or let's say it more properly, out of range, total cost can't be estimated. Be estimated outside relevant range. Okay? So, guys, obviously on your exam, like you're not going to have like a written answer like this because this is the difference between long answer and multiple choices. But this is good just for your own personal understanding, guys. Okay? Like this is these are your 4 steps, guys, for the high-low method. Okay? Like that's literally it. Okay? Like that's it. That's all. Okay? There's nothing more to do. Okay? These are your 4 steps. You're basically trying to see how many steps do you have to do, right? Do you have to do only step 1 and 2? Do you have to do step 3? Or do you really have to go, keep this arrows going forever, Jesus Christ, all the way down to step 4? Okay? But needless to say, guys, that is the final answer. Now, guys, very quickly, I'm going to show you my Excel. I always like to show the Excel at the end, even though the exam is very obviously not on Excel. Okay? I like to show it anyways just because my handwriting is really shit. And you get a final clean answer of everything all in one spot. So, guys, basically, our step 1, we identify the relevant range. We did that. No problem. Step 2, we solve for the VC per unit with the high-low method. Highest cost minus lowest cost, or let's just say it like this, highest activity cost. Lowest activity cost. Okay? And always remember, guys, you start in denominator and then you pick the one that matches the numerator, okay? You start here. Okay? Start denominator. Okay? It's very important that you guys remember this. So then you solve for your VC per unit. Okay? All right, I hope you guys remember how to do that. If not, just go back in the video. We basically did the numerator divided by the denominator. That gives you your VC per unit. And then, guys, for the fixed cost, okay, we plug the highest point in. So basically these 2 points, okay, these 2 points on the data set, okay, we plug in these two, okay, into the total cost equation, and you solve for the fixed cost algebra, okay? Like, I know I didn't use like necessarily the total, like I use the total cost equation here, guys, but it doesn't look the same on Excel. Because basically, like I said, what you're doing here, right? You have the total cost. You're able to figure out the total variable cost, right? So basically, to simplify this, it's like total cost minus the total variable cost. And whatever is not variable, guys, has to be fixed. That's the rule. Okay? I hope that's okay with everyone. I'm going to put this over here just to show you. And then I'll go right here, TVC. And that gives you your TFC, your total fixed cost. Okay? So I hope that's good with everyone. And then last but not least, solve for the total cost with the total cost equation, guys. That's literally all you have to do. It's not bad, guys. It literally just takes repetition. The high-low method is one of the easier questions on the midterm. You usually get like 1, maybe 2 multiple choices about it. And it's a walk in the park, guys. Like, you know the math. You even know the theory, just to be careful with the relevant range. And you're going to see, guys, when you get to multiple choices and the exam reviews, it's pretty much a lock-in. So, guys, practice this question again. You know, message me if you want more questions. Practice the multiple choice after this to really make sure you know how to lock it in. And then maybe, guys, if you really want, like, you do your, like, Wiley. Like, if you really want, okay? Or, like, a book problem, if there are any, or a Moodle question. But, guys, there's lots of practice. And trust me, in the reviews, you're going to get way too much practice, okay? So, if there's ever anything, guys, hope you all enjoyed this video. Sorry for rambling on, but that's, like, a Matthew special at this point, okay? Like, you just got to get used to it. That's like signing up with me. You're bound to get a couple rants, okay? And I apologize. Management accounting rants are probably the worst type of rants, but hey, keep hope alive and let's get the show on the road, get it done. Okay? So let me know if there's ever anything, guys, and I'll see you in the next video. Okay? Bye.